Oh, sorry, content child, and we have content children. This is one very confusing topic when it comes to Angular people, and also, if you are if you understand view child, view children, and content child and content children, then Angular component lifecycle hooks is also very interesting to understand, specifically in where to write which event, right? So these two are my focus today. So you can think about that today's day we are dedicating to Angular. Today's 1 hour. So very quickly, so what exactly is this view child and view children, right? So let me open up some source code out here of Angular, and let me start. So I've just opened a VS Code. Let's see if my screen is visible. Right, hang on. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so first let us try to understand what exactly is view child. Okay, as the name says, it is view's child. That's what the name says, right? So let me go and take a print shot out here. So this one here, I'll be taking a full screen snip. Why does it take? Okay, I'm just trying to snip here, but for some reason, okay, there it is. I don't know why it was. So here it is. You can see now. Let us first try to understand view child. So there are lots of code out here. Don't see all the code. I'll just say that at this moment, just focus yourself on this code and this code, right? So as we all know that when you talk about Angular, Angular is a view model. Angular is it's a binding framework. So you can see here we have the view here, and we have the code behind, or we can say the component here, right? So if you see at this moment, I have opened up this two code. One is the view and one is the component, right? A view child is nothing but, if you want to get reference of your Angular element inside your code behind or inside your component. So you can see here component1.html and its code behind is component1.ts, right? So if you want to go ahead and get access to this, so what you can do is you can go and say here, this is div1, and then you can reference that by using the view child. So a view child is nothing but, wherein you can reference this component. And once you can reference this component, then you can say, for example, you can see this view child refer div1, and then you can say this dot div ref1 native element do the inner HTML, native element go and hide it, native element go and do this, right? So that is what is view child. Now view children. Now view child only refers only one element, one single element. But what if you want to go and refer 2-3 elements? That's where we have view children. For example, you can see here at your left hand side UI, you have group of elements. So you can see that there is something called as com2 out here. And inside com2, we have so many elements, right? So we have 4 paragraph tags. So if you want to go and refer them, so what you can do is you can say @view children, refer these components out here, refer the elements out there, and then you can go and you can access them as well. So view child and view children helps you to access the elements of its view. It can be a div tag, it can be a button, it can be anything, right? So any questions here? What exactly is a view child? Let me know any questions. Very simple, that is. First thing, I would recommend that not to use view child, too much view child. So let us say if you want to get this div value, use bindings. Don't use view child. But what happens is many times, you have to refer the element. You want to do some hide and, all that things, or you want to get access of that native element for some reason, then view child is good. But I'm sure that if I want to get this inner HTML of div, the best way would be to do the binding, right? So this example here is just shown as an example. So I would say that try to avoid view child as far as possible. Just use simple bindings, which is more than enough. But yes, there are situations wherein probably you want to refer something which is dynamic. Probably you want to add an element. Probably you want to do something which is very, very core HTML and JavaScript. Then I think view child makes sense. So that is view child and view children. Very quickly, let me talk about content child and content children also, and then we will go towards the component lifecycle. Now, content child, or I'll say content children, you can also term it as content projection. First, let us understand content projection. You can see here, this is component 2. This is a component out here called as component 2, right? A component 2.ts, and that is component 2, right? Now let us say that this component 2 is used inside component 1. So inside component 1, you have imported component 2. I again repeat, this is component 1.ts out here. And you can see, let me split here. Let me split to the right. You can post your questions. I will try to answer it. Let me cover at least 15-20 minutes of the training, and then I will definitely try to answer it. Oh, let me close all this. So you can see that this is component 2 out here, and this component 2 is used here, right? I have imported it. And if you look at this component 2.html, it has a section here called as ng content. Now how do you use a component in component 1? In component 1, you can just go and say component 2, and that's it. Your component is live out there, right? So you can see here that this is component 2.html. And if I just go and say here in component 1, component 2, it is live, right? Now from this component 1.html, I want to project elements to component 2. Let me show both of them side by side. Split to the right. So let me just snip this. So here it is. Look at this situation. This is component 1.html. This is component 2.html, right? Means standalone components. This component 1.html has already been imported into that component.ts, right? Now you can see here I'm using, so if I want to use this component 2, I can just say com2 slash com2, and it is there. So you can see com2 slash com2, it is there. Now from here, you can see I'm projecting something. I have this, this 4 paragraph tags, right? So here, this 4 paragraph tags will get projected inside this ng content. This 4 paragraph tags out here. For now, you know, just leave this. Don't move your eyes into that. Just focus only on these 2 things. So this is the component 2. From here, you want to go and project content out there. Then you will use projected contents. So that means that if you try to visualize this, you have view 1. Inside view 1, you are using view 2, but the view 1 is projecting contents inside view 2. So the view 1 says that, okay, I want a text box here. So you can think about that the shell comes from view 2, but then certain contents are projected. So all these paragraph tags will be getting projected out here. You can have multiple ng content, right? You can have multiple content projection, which you can easily understand from the code out there. I'm sorry. You can see here, one is, you can see that I have named them as slot 1 and slot 2. So I can say that this paragraph tag will go into slot 1. This paragraph tag will go into slot 2. And the other ones, you know, the remaining ones, you know, which do not have a slot will go over here. So you can have multiple content projection from the main parent. So this is termed as content projection. So very quickly, I talked about first view child and view children, which is nothing but if you want to access the UI in the component.ts file, you will use this. Then I talked about content projection. Content projection means when the parent component, you know, I shouldn't use the word parent. It's not a parent-child relationship. I can say, I don't know, root component projects content to the contained component. So the component where it is called, right? Contained, I don't know what good word it can be. It's not a parent-child, right? Frankly, contained component. Then it is content projection. And for content projection, ng-content is very essential, right? So guys, any questions on at least what is view child, what is view children, and what is content projection? If you have any questions, you know, you can put down on the chat. I can see there are some questions out there. Is it similar to container where one component is embedded in the second container? Yes, it is. It is very much similar to that. So I'll just put up the questions out here. Okay, so let us see. Okay. No, it is not run so very quickly. Let me. Any reason to avoid view child? So let's put all the questions here, and I'm so sorry for this. Any reason, as I've said, that what the reason to avoid view child is that if you start referring the HTML UI element like H1 tag and B1 tag, right, then your code component becomes very much tied up with the UI element name. So that can really mix up everything. So it is like as if you're coding in jQuery. Why we have come into this component thing is that we want to refer it everything to the binding. So I would say that avoid it, but as I've said that there are lots of situations, wherein you need to have that view child. You really love to get the access of the HTML element and do things on it, right? So use bindings as far as possible, and I'm sure that 99% can be handled through bindings, but specific the dynamism. You are adding 10 div tags and 20 div tags. In those cases also can be handled, but I understand that there are those small times where you say no, it cannot be done through normal bindings, right? Is component 2 a keyword of Angular? No. The component 2 is not a keyword of Angular. It's not a keyword of Angular. It's my component actually. It's a custom component. Okay. Could you please explain line 12 in TypeScript code? Could you please explain view children? Okay. A view children means referring a single view children. Line 12. Okay, let's look at line 12. Line 12. Line 12. Yeah, the line 12 here. Okay, I know that I did not. So here it is. This is line 12. That's what is line 12, right? Okay. I know that there are lots of other things as well out there, right? But let me explain you what it is. Line 12. So here it is. First thing, you can see that first thing, let's understand this code of view child. I know that I did not explain you. I just explained you in an abstract way. First thing, this is a decorator. Remember all the Angular syntaxes, which starts with @ When you see this @ component, and if you want to really map it to your C# thought process, then it is actually an attribute. It's a component like that, right? So that's what it is. So now this one here is a direct HTML element name, div1, which was there in the UI. It's not there now. Okay, there it is. It is there. It's that div1. That's what it is, right? So that is there. And second, this is the name of the of my variable divref. So I can then say down below somewhere I can say divref dot native element dot something, right? This element ref is the type. So this element ref is type of Angular. You can see at the top it is imported element ref. So it says that any element which you want to refer of your HTML is out here. And you can see out here there is something called as static equal to false, right? So I will talk about this later on. But very quickly, what it says is that do you want to initialize this this element in the view init event, right? Means or in the init event. So there is an init event. So now what happens is there are two important events which fire when the Angular component is loaded. One is the constructor. In the constructor, these elements are not initialized at all. In the init event, actually these elements get initialized. But for some reason you say no, I want to initialize them. Let's initialize them and keep it. For some reason, then you can say okay, static equal to true. So what it will do is it will just initialize them and keep it. So that is static equal to this. And this, okay, now let's look at line 12. I know that you asked for line 12. In this line 12, I'm referring to com2. I'm referring directly to com2 actually out here. At the view child, I'm referring to component 2 out here. See, at the end of the day, even if I refer to component 2, I won't be able to refer to these elements in a collection way. So in component 2, if there is a text or something, I can refer it. So that's why this is a view child. But for component 2, the valid way to do is by using view children. This is the right way of doing it. This I've just shown as an example. See, at the end of the day, every element is a single element, isn't it? So you can refer this, but if you say you want to do a for each loop, you want to get a length, you want to go and put it into a dictionary and so on, then you need a view children. So this view child here is the same thing, but it is referring on a component, but this component is also a single element. He is not referring actually to the whole collection. Please understand. So must be inside the component. If there is a text file, he can refer, but not to the individual paragraph, right? So that's what the syntax is. Let's look at other questions. Okay. Difference between view child and view children. I think I've already said, Harish, that view child refers a single element. I again repeat, view child refers a single element, div one, just div one. If you say collection, then it is view children, plural. This is singular, this is plural. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, is content projection similar to container? Yes, absolutely. It's almost the same way. But is it the only unnamed ng content can be used? Shankar, I did not get your question. I'm sorry. Yes, so ng content is a reserved keyword. I'm not aware what the question is, but what I understand is that you are asking that if you're asking that this is ng content a reserved keyword, yes, it's a reserved keyword of Angular. And yes, you can always go and you can write whatever you wish here. For example, you want to say this is coming from component 2, no problem, right? So it can have his own HTML elements and something which is projected from the parent. Okay. Right. So what is the use of ng content in a single component? So Ravindra, in a single component, if you want to project the contents, you want to send 5, 6 div tags, 2 paragraph tags, and you want to stuff into this ng content, that's what the use of ng content is. Okay. So I can see a lot of questions coming from there, so let us move ahead. I'm not running these programs. Please, people who are, look, if you want to really understand this code, what I would suggest is you can go through the Angular interview Q&A. We have a very awesome Angular interview questions and answers, and you can look through part 2 and part 3. They have all the source code, which I'm showing out here with the demos and everything, because this is one of the very favorite questions which the interviewer asks in Angular, like view child, view children, content child, content children, content projection, and the life cycle. That's a very favorite question. Okay. Now, so we talked about view child, view children. We talked about content projection. Now, let's talk about content child and content children, right? So content child, so now whatever is projected out here, for example, you can see here inside this ng content, 4 paragraph tags are projected. Inside this ng content, these 2 paragraph tags are projected. I'm sorry. Inside this ng content, the upper 2 paragraph tags are projected. Inside this slot 2, this is projected, right? So whatever is projected out here, if you want to get access to a single element, what is projected, then that is termed as content children, a content child. And if you want to get access to all the contents which are projected inside an ng content, then you need a content children. So if you see here into this component.ts file, let me close all this. So here, so split to the right. So if you see now, no, not component 1. I want component 2 and I want component 2. Content child, content children. Split to the left. Okay. Okay, there. What the hell am I doing? Okay, fine. I don't know why that split is not working. So here it is. Now inside this component 2, this is the ng content. If you want to access a single element, then you will say content child, the projected content, and element ref. And if you want to access the content children, the same syntax like view children, content children, projected content, and query list. Why and query list? Because now it is a collection, right? So view child is his own content and own elements. Content child is someone else projected contents. So the difference between view child and content child is that content childs are projected contents, but view child are his own elements, his own contents, which are of his UI, right? So again, over here, you can see I'm trying to access component 2. So if you see, this is @content child projected content. And inside this, if I access the inner HTML, I will be getting this HTML out here, which is projected, right? Because this HTML will be projected here in this ng content, and that is accessed from this projected content out here, right? So any questions, guys, on the projected content and content child and content children? The projected content. So here's a question. The projected content here is nothing but it's my word out here. It's just my, I've just given a name to it. If you see here, the projected content is here. You can see this projected content is termed as a template reference variable. If I want to refer this paragraph tag anywhere, right, I can put an hashtag and refer it. For example, look at this. Okay, that's one more thing must be I can just talk before I talk this. Template reference variable. Template reference variable means, for example, over here, and then I will talk about, you know, what that thing is. This is a div 1 here. This is div. One is I can give an ID and try to access it. The another one is I can just say hash div 1. And if I want to access it, I can just go and access it out here. This is called as inside the template. Template means this HTML. When you say template in Angular, it means HTML. So template reference variable. So that's a variable which is referenced, right? So now you can see here, this is the reference variable I've made here called as projected content. And that's the variable which I'm accessing out here. So that's that variable. Is there any limit to content size? No, I don't think so. There is any limit to content size. When to use content child and when to use content children? First thing, let us not talk about the difference between content child and content children and view child and view children, because one is plural, one is singular, right? So that is very clear. Let us talk about the difference between the view and the content. Means difference between content child and content children is very simple. View child and view children is very simple, right? So if I try to draw a diagram, you know, this is what it is. Let me try, because I don't want to show the code. If I try to show you a lot of code out there, it will really, so let me just try to put up my whiteboard out here. So, okay, I accept it. Oh, I don't know why it asked for a whiteboard sign up now. Okay, so here it is. So you have a view. Let us take this as view 1. And you have a code behind of this view 1, which is your view 1's component. That is the .ts file, right? This view 1 has, let us say, a sweet div tag out here, right? If this div tag, you want to refer it in the component, inside this component, then it is @view child. Very easy. Now let us say you have a div tag, and inside this div tag you have multiple elements, right? And if you want to refer all of these multiple elements inside the div tag, you have 2 paragraphs, 1 text boxes, then it is plural @view children. Now you have another, let's say you have another view here, which is a reusable view. Assume like a grid. Let's say this is view 2. And this one is view 2's component. View 2's component.ts, right? And this view 2 you are using in view 1. So you have, let's say this name is view 2, right? So here you are saying v2/v2. And you are using it, right? So you are using this view2 here. Now you want that from this view 1. So let's say this view 2 has, let's say it's a master page, you know, if it's something like this. It's a master page, assume. So you say, okay, all this is good, but I want to project some content from here to here, right? So that means that in this now we have to have ng content. So what will happen now is from this view 1, he will project the content inside this ng content project. And if you want to access this ng content into view 2, then you need to use content child for single and content children for plural. So the difference between view child and view children is that content child and content children accesses his elements which have been projected. View child and view children access his own views elements. So you can see this is the view and this is the component. So the view child and view children accesses his own UI elements, but this content child accesses the elements which are projected, right? So that's what it is. And you need NG content. You need to have an NG content. Without that, you cannot do content child and content children. Let me know if this is understood. I know it's difficult, but that's how it is. How to access view 2 from view1.ts? Is it with the view child? Yes. So how to access view 2 from? Yes, you can access through view child. And second, remember that you can always write import. Means once this component is accessible, you will definitely be writing your import out here, isn't it? So import component, this TS file, you can call the methods. And yes, you can access now because this NG content is already been loaded out here, right? And let's say that you have a link here, a hyperlink. It is already been loaded here. You can access using the view child. Why not? In your example, view 1 will project view 2. Yeah, view 1 will project onto view 2, Amit. So view 1, see, one is that view 2, very quickly. View 2 will have definitely, see, at the end of the day, it's a reusable component, right? So there will be some things which will come from this view 2 will actually get loaded inside view 1. It's a component, isn't it? So this will get loaded inside view 1. But the view 1 also can project contents here. So must be, you can think about that this view 2 template is taken and also he adds his own elements. So finally, if you ask me what this NG content will look like at the final, when it goes to the browser, it will be like this with the view 1's component, which are projected out here, right? So yes, that is, and view 1, the view 2 will have some master page, some logo, something which is reusable, right? Or else why is he trying to import that into view 1, right? So it is not just to project. So this NG content, what it does is it says that, okay, I'm taking you as a template, but I want to change certain part of your section. Like how we had master pages, if you remember. In master pages, we used to say, okay, I'll take your template as it is, but I will project my own content into certain areas, right? That's what this NG content is. So view 1 will project to view 2, right? Yes, absolutely. And view 2 will be, and that complete projection plus the view 2 will be displayed inside view 1. Please note. That is also important. Okay, so why I explained this content child, content children is that without this, you can't understand Angular lifecycle, Angular component lifecycle. If you don't understand view child, view children, you can't understand component lifecycle, how much ever you try, right? So let me know any questions here. When you use view content, it will be additional to the whole content. Yes, absolutely. When you use view content, it will be additional to the whole content. Yes. There is no view content, NG content, you mean, right, Devendra? When you will use NG content, you wrote view content, so there is no view content. Okay, so this is my first day. Where should I go for review of the lectures? So if this is your first day, I would suggest go and start from here, MVC Core. So very quickly, guys, we are having lectures. 3 kinds of lectures are running at this moment. Also, so there are so here it is. You can see here. If you want to go and see all the lectures from the first, I would say follow this tutorial, and we are planning to continue more 1 or 2 months into this. We are going to have some more extra lectures which I will be putting out here. And second, very quickly, if you're a new person out here, we have 3 lectures. One is on the Tuesday, we do the design pattern. Then Thursday and Friday, not Friday now, not this Friday, we will not do it. On Thursday, we do the MVC Core Angular, and then on Saturday we do the AZ204 Azure certification, right? So just 1 hour. It's a matter of only 1 hour. And like some of our friends were saying that that we want a fast course and fast crash course. Then we have launched some very specific fast crash course out there now. So today, just I think the Questpond team launched it. Must be you can have a look at it. But I think this course is nice. It is slow. Just 1 hour in a week you do it. Take your 2 days to practice it, and then next week you come. Because if I take like 4 hours in a day, right? I know that that's a way to actually move when you are sitting full time at home. But this is the way. So must be you can go and watch all of these lectures, and that should be enough, right? Okay, now let us talk about Angular component lifecycle. So I'm going to go and open Angular component lifecycle code here. Guys, please go and run this code. This code is all downloadable on the Q&A. You can go and you can run this code out here. Now, at this point, I'll not run the code and show because the output is very simple. Let me go now to the another code, which is Angular component lifecycle. Also, it is termed as Angular component hooks. Now, as an Angular developer, right, one of the things which you would like to do is that you would like to write appropriate code into appropriate events. For example, when your UI is loaded, you want to call the HTTP call and load the country master must be. When the component gets closed, you want to do some cleanup, right? So you need to understand that how a component's events are in Angular and where to write which code, right? So I'm going to go and open up this file out here. This is, you can see it's the same file which I have here, component 1, component 2, and so on, right? But in the component 2, I have put lots of events here. You can see here constructor, ng on init, ng on destroy, ng on do check, ng after content init, ng after content checked, ng after view init, and ng after view checked, and ng on changes, right? Okay, let's understand it. So you can see like first thing, you would be getting a feeling that yes, this after content checked, after content init, after view init, after view checked. You can see these 4 events out here. These are the most confusing one. And why these are confusing, because a person does not understand content child and content children. That's why it is confusing, right? So first you can see it is the same code. It's the same source code which we had previously. And all the events I have written in component 2. All the events I have written in component 2 because component 2 has the content child, it has a view child, it has the view children. So that's why I put it everything out here, right? So let us get started that what these events are and what is the firing of the sequence. So first thing what I can do is I think, let me do an npm install out here so that I can run this program. So I should have done this before the class. Fine. So let the npm install happen and I'll show you the output. But very quickly, this is how the events fire. Okay. First thing, all the component lifecycle events fire inside the component. They don't fire at the module level. They don't fire on the view. They just fire on the component, right? So you can see here, all these events, what you see here, ng on init, ng on destroy, everything is inside the Angular component, right? And you have to write exactly like this, ng o capital on init, ng o capital D capital on destroy. So it is like kind of a reserved event, right? So now, first thing, there is your view. So what happens is you have your view, you have a component, and that's what is actually displayed on the browser of Angular, right? This is what it is. So now first thing, when the component gets loaded, when the first time the component gets loaded, the constructor fires. The constructor event happens. Remember, this is all event inside the component. Now remember that constructor is not really an Angular event, frankly. Constructor is just a constructor of a class, right? So normally, whenever you have object-oriented programming, you have a constructor where you go and write initialization code. So I will not really say that this is a part of a, a part of a event of Angular, but this is more of part of, how do you say, it's a part of the class. Yeah, okay. Now, after the constructor, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Must be we can open up the mics later on. Please do mute yourself. After the constructor, we have the ng on init event which fires. There is something else in between. I'll come to that, the change event, but the on init event fires, right? Now, So you would be asking that, okay, so this is a constructor, this is an on init event. What is the difference, right? In the constructor, if you are trying to access any view children or view child or any kind of HTML, they won't be accessible. This is where you can do dependency injection. This is where you can access your class variables. This is where you can access collections, right? So everything related to TypeScript, you can access it and you can store it, but you cannot really access anything of the view because it has not been initialized still. In the ng on init, the views are initialized, but not everything, frankly. So the view means for example, a simple bold tag that has been initialized, a simple HTML tag that has been initialized must be, but there can be, some of the HTMLs which are not initialized. I'll come to that, right? Now, and after the ng on init, there is ng after content init. Now, what happens is, remember that, as we said, a view can load another view inside it, like how the ng content is, right? So now what happens first is, all of its contents fire. Contents means its child which has been loaded, right? So first thing what happens is ng content init fires, ng content init fires, then ng content checked fires. Okay. See, when I say content init means the child's event. Remember, we said we had a view and this view can project content to its child view. So first thing, his events will fire and then his events will fire. So this ng content init means the events of its child if they have it, right? ng content checked, right? This ng content checked means now this content, what is there inside this content, it is getting projected on the view of the child, right? So, and then the ng view init fires, then view checked fires. Now this view init and view checked are specific to the view. So remember, this is like saying that the view children's are accessible here. This is like saying the content children's and content childs are accessible here. So this is more related to content child and content children initialization. This is more related to the view child and view children initialization, right? So that's what fires. And then finally, your view gets loaded, right? So you can see here first the constructor, then the ng on init, then the content checked, content init, content checked, view init, and view checked. So first thing, guys, any questions at least on these elements out here? And then let me just give the easiest one, and then I'll talk some other events as well. The destroy event. So when everything closes off, the destroy event will fire. So any questions here? There are 2-3 events which are left out. I'm going to go and talk about it. Yes. Any questions at least till this point? It is similar to MVC, yes. Content check means, basically, see, at the end of the day, this content, what is going to get binded to the UI. At the end of the day, in the view or in this content, it's going to get binded to the UI, right? So at that time, it is checked that the view, it is actually getting binded or not. So when the contents of the component and the view get binded, that's where the checked event fires. In the view checked and the content checked, or all of these words which are checked, right? In that, there is a 1001% guarantee that you can access that view element. In the view checked and the content checked, there is a 1001% guarantee that you can access those elements, the UI elements. I know you can go and you can make it, hide it, you can show it. It's full blown, right? Like in the constructor, that nobody can give a guarantee that the elements are accessible. In the ng on init also, like nobody can give a guarantee that it is accessible, right? In the content init, the contents elements are accessible, that is of the ng content, but nobody can give a guarantee that the view child and view children are accessible. In the view child and view children, yes. So basically each one of these sections are related to their parent and then their child contents loading or not. Okay. But now, yeah, any questions, guys, before I move to the other, some 2-3 more events? Yes, the view init and view child, both of them can access the elements. Yes. Only of the view, huh? Only of the view and also of the content, because content has been initialized still here. Yes. So if you see here, this is the view checked and view here. Yes. Now, very quickly, so we can say, we can say then this event, on init event, content on init, ng content on init, ng view on init, right? These are fired only once and must be ng destroy also, definitely. These are fired only once. I'm again repeating, the constructor gets fired once, ng on init gets fired, content gets fired once, the view init gets fired once, only once, when the component is loaded, right? But later on, when the end user starts interacting, the end user says, okay, I'll click a button, I'll do this, right? Then the checked event fires. So if the contents value changes, then this check event fires. If the view value changes, this view checked event fires. And there is one more, a check event at the component level. So there is again a check event, a do check event. So there is a do check event as well. So that do check event also keeps firing. So if you ask me, when your component is running, when the end user starts interacting, then only these three events will keep firing. Added to that, there is an on change event. There's one more event, also the on change, or I'll say on change event, on changes. I'm sorry for my handwriting. Means, let me, so on change, right? Now, means first time he executes, he also executes, fifth, sixth, and you are ready, right? And yes, this do check also executes. But after that, when the whole browser is loaded, the user starts interacting, he starts putting value, then check. So view checked fires. This is for the children. This is for the view. This is when any one of them change, right? Now there is an on change event. This on change event fires. This is not an event actually. This check event fires for everything. You click a mouse here, you click there, you click on the child container, the content check fires. But sometimes you say that, no, I just don't fire left and right. If the values have changed from Shiv to Shiva or from Angular 9 to Angular 10, if the values have changed, then fire. Then that's what this on change. This on change is more conditional, saying that have the value change, then this fires, right? So the way the Angular lifecycle is, there is one set of events which fires to load the component. Once the component loads, then this 1, 2, 3, and the fourth event fires conditionally. This fires conditionally, right? So in short, if we try to just put down, what kind of life cycle it is, right? Init event fires first. In the init event, you will only do things like dependency injection, variable declaration, and so on. I did not talk about this previously, but after the init event, there is a possibility that a change event can fire. There's a possibility. Why? Because sometimes initially the value is null of the variable and you set in the constructor to something else, right? So already the change has happened, right? So the on change can fire, not necessary, right? After that, the on init fires. On init fires on the parent one, on the parent it fires. And here, again, you can access the HTML elements, but all the HTML elements are not guaranteed that they will be loaded out here, right? Now, if the view contains a content, right? So the content child, the content init fires. Remember, when I say content init means ng content init. He fires. Content checked fires, right? So these are all belonging to your content child and content children, right? After that, so this is 2, this is 3, this first time, guys, 4. Please note that I can make a mistake because must be that I must have done something. Almost everything is right, but must be the names, like on init is actually ng on init. So those names exactly, I'm not typing it out there. Then the view init fires, the view init 6, the view checked fires 7. This here, view checked fires, and after that, a do check fires, a check event, because now the child has fired, the parent has fired, right? These two are related to view child and view children. Now, when the views are loaded, the contents are loaded, then the check event fires. So I'll just write it out here. Must be here, the check event. Right? This is the 8th. Okay. And then finally, when everything ends, that destroy event will fire. Right? So that's something at the last we can put it. 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 9. Okay. Now when so these all will fire once, but now the 5, 6, 7, 8, they will keep firing now and then. So after that, the 5, the 6, the 5, the 8, and the 6, and the 7. This will keep firing. And remember that the change event, saying that, okay, if anything changes out here. So when you click, when you double click, when you do this, you tab out, these events will fire, right? So remember that you can divide your Angular lifecycle into 2 things. First is while starting, and then when the user starts interacting, right? So guys, any questions out here? I know that it's a, must be I can just go and run this. Let us see. So I'm going to go and just run this here, ng serve. So you can see I have a very, very simple application out here. You can see this is component 1. From this component 1, let me explain you this code. Inside this component 1, I'm using component 2, which is actually this UI, component 2. And from component 1, I'm projecting this paragraph tag out here. And from component 1, I'm passing some value also, because I need to also show you the change event, right? So you can see I'm passing some value also, some data, right? So, and then in component 2, what I've done is I've just tracked all the events, and I've said component content checked fired, content after view init fired, after view checked fired, after content has been initialized fired, right? So why I created this ng content, because if you don't create content, right, you won't get this event of after content in it. These 2 events will be missed out. So that's why what I did is I created a content child, and inside that I put all the events, so that I can get all the events right from the destroy to the init to everything, right? So there it is. Now you can see it's compiling. So guys, any questions, at least on the concept part? Let me run this, so that I can show you inside the browser how it looks like. Remember, I've seen that a lot of people just restrict themselves to put events into on init and constructor. They don't even have an idea that such kind of content checked and content init events are given by the Angular team, and sometimes the code becomes messy. So here I'm going to go and just try to run this. So it's running in localhost 4200. 4200. Function F12, always do on function F12 out there. So must be I can just reload this, and you can see there are 17 messages, right? Okay, forget about the 17 messages, but let's try to understand. Let me clear the console. Enter. Okay, you can see first the constructor fires. You can see if I've just put a console dot, the constructor fires. And remember I said the on change can fire. And at this moment, the on change has fired because I have written a default value and then changed it, right? I don't know what this test 1, 2, 3 is. This is the content init, content checked, the do check event. Remember the init, the check, content init, content checked, init event, view checked. Now after this, when you start interacting, now look at this. I'll put something here and I will tab out only the check fires. Check. Only check. Remember I said the parent components check, the contents check, the view check. Parent component check. But you can see the on change did not fire because the test 1, 2, 3 I did not change. So now let us say I'll clear this and let's say I make it 4. Look at that. Now the on change also fired. Or it's only the check fires, right? So the check events fire for everything. The on change event fires only when the old value and the new value changes. And then the init events are just for initialization, either at the component level, child component level, his own view level, or must be when it starts for the first time. So guys, any questions, any queries? That brings us to the end of the session. I can start taking questions out here. I'll pause this share here, guys. Please go ahead. So we have covered today 4 or 5 important concepts, very confusing concepts. These are view child, view children, content child, content children, projected content, template variable, and Angular lifecycle. Okay, the destroy event will fire when you just close it. So when you close the browser, Devendra, the destroy event will fire. Okay, so first ng. Okay, yes, on ng fires, yes, absolutely. The on change event fires. Must be I made some mistake out there, but yes, it's okay, guys. I made a mistake. Yes, yes, I do agree. This is where I think, when you're asking some questions to someone in the interview, right? You just have to be logical. It's okay that if he misses some here and there, right? So I did not come prepared for this class, frankly. When I write as an Angular developer, when I write code, right? It's possible that I can make mistakes. But what I do understand is that these are the inits and these are the checked. And these are and then before that we have a constructor. So some basic shall be remembered, right? Yes, that's that sequence out there. I've mistaken it. I agree. So the on change fires first and then the checked fires, guys. The on change fires first, then the check fires. Yes. And also on the initialization part, the one mistake which I did is before the init on change fires. I think in the diagram I did the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, before the init on change fires. And yeah, the init. Okay, I think it was the right diagram. Yes. Okay, so good question here. What is the best way? If we have an HTTP call, should we do in the constructor or should we do? See, if you make an HTTP call, that means that data you have to bind it with the UI. So definitely it is not very safe in the init event, right? Because once the success event comes in, you want to make a bind the div tag or bind the table grid or something. And at the time, if the view is not initialized, it's a problem. So I feel I would do it depending on where the HTTP fires. For example, the view init is a good place. Now again, like what exactly is this code? I don't know. But let us say the code is that initially when the drop downs of the country master has to be loaded, what is the right place to load? Should I fire in the constructor? No. In the constructor, if you fire, then you have to preserve that data into a collection. You can't directly bind it to the UI elements because the UI elements are not initialized. On the on init, not probably. But yes, on the view child and view init, yes. Why? Because in the view init, almost all the content is loaded. All the UI, all the objects are loaded. So it is guaranteed out here, everything is accessible. When do you use do check? Yes, good question. So when do I use this do check, which keeps firing now and then? I will use this do check, to track things like X and Y coordinate. I don't know, like I never use do check, frankly. It's too hectic. But sometimes what happens is, for some reason you want to go and track like my mouse event, or you want to track, the on focus event or something. For that, I will use do check, but almost like in my project, I've never used do check. I used either. So which are the most used event? You can ask me. One is the constructor, which is actually not an event, but that is used a lot. On init, left and right. On destroy, that is one. And the your view init and the content init. The view init and the content init, those are also used. The do check events, it depends really. I've not seen people using it a lot, but definitely it has its own use, because sometimes if the user is moving his mouse and you want to keep checking the validations, must be like, for example, I go and I tap from here, and then you want to show the error messages just to alert him, right? So those can be the scenarios where it is used. Right. I'm stuck from. Okay, so let's. Do you think we can? Okay. Okay, Devendra, just send me a message. Must be at the back end, and we can have a look at it. At this moment, MSBI, etc. We can talk it later on. Okay. Any questions, guys, on this? Uh, yes, Devendra, send us a message. Must be Questpond support. Can you connect Devendra to Mr. Guru? So in case you have some, let's say now, guys, here it is. In Questpond, we are previously, our trainers, we never exposed to you guys. So I was the only trainer who was before you. But now, because of the number of subscribers, which are increasing, definitely all the calls are coming to me. I am on the Skype. I am on the recording out here. We want to be small. We don't want to really become big like Udemy. We are not, and we don't want it. We want to be small and we want to be focused. So we have like 4 or 5 senior people who work in a project as well. So they have an experience as well. They are working on live projects. And without live projects, I cannot teach you good training. Please note. For example, now at this moment, you will not believe that I am working on a very, very bad error. I don't want to talk about it here, but it has been like all across. If you ever go into my projects out here, you will find that like I've been struggling with without these errors. We don't feel that. For example, that's one of the errors I'm struggling with, which is completely into Angular. And so we work on projects. We have our own product. And because of that experience, we bring the training much better out here. We feel so. Okay. So now we have Guru, we have two other developers out here. We have started exposing them to the Questpond team. So must be you can ask for them and they can come on Skype. They can help you. I'm also there in case if there is, but don't bring project level things with us, because you guys understand, right, what it means to do project level kind of support. So anything related to basic Angular, whatever we are taught in the class, more welcome, most welcome. But if you're saying like, oh, here is my project and see, I'm making a call to that web API, and to that web API, now you tell me what to do. That is something consultancy. So try to differentiate between training and consultancy, and we are more than happy to help you guys. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have almost done with it. Any questions here? Harish, yeah, Harish has sent me a mail. Can you please check Questpond support? Let me know if you can check that. Date and time picker, Dilip Singh, why don't you try Angular material? I feel it was good. I'm not sure. Angular material has a date picker. Did you try Angular material? If you want good UI, I would suggest Telerik or something like, we have 2-3 companies out there. One is Telerik, one is Infragistics. Must be you can use that if you want to stand out. Very less amount. The price is also very reasonable, right? But Angular material date picker, this should help you. Angular material is awesome. Must be. That's a good date picker to have. Okay, did not have a time picker. Are you sure that you saw the examples? Did you see the examples? Must be, there could be some configuration. Possible it is there. I did not check actually, but possible that those APIs can have a time picker. Next, previous year, previous label. Oh, they don't have a time, is it? I don't know. Must be see one of these settings out here. If not, then we have to hunt for some date and time picker. Okay. Okay. I also see that it does not have a time. Does not have a time. Do they have time here? I'm not sure. Must be you can check in the components, right? Okay. Okay, not moving. I'm sorry. Fine. So here is the date picker actually. That's the date picker. I'm sorry. My screen was not moving. What I was suggesting to one of our friends is that in the API example of the date picker, but I don't see anything time out here. Must be, we should hunt something, right? Okay. Yeah, there is no time picker, Dilip. I can see that. So must be just Google on GitHub. You'll get lot many. Just say Angular time picker. I'm sure that you'll get some good ones out there. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Must be the next in the next class we can take up Angular material. Must be. I was thinking about. So very quickly, what we'll do in the next class now. This MVC Core Angular. We have come to a stage where we are able to make a post to the API. We are using entity framework. We have done client-side validation. We have done server-side validation. We have done the cores. We have done the token, JWT token as well. And today we have completed some things about Angular as well. Let me know, guys, what is the next topic you want to see around Angular and MVC? Let me know that if there is anything in your mind. One is Angular material I was thinking about. Yes, validation is done. Validation on the client side. Did we do validations on the client side? Let me have a look. Didn't we do validations on the client side? No, sir, not done. Okay, fine. Okay, so done. Money, I think that this we should, Questpond support. Let's block a date for GitHub. Git operations, Git commit, Git this. Every time money, I see that question from you, and I just say that we are missing that point. Questpond support, can you take this as a discussion point internally? Yep. Okay, good question. Actually, let me answer this question of Amit out here. Do we need an UI UX developer? So guys, in the next class, we can take the validations. I feel so, because if you are not completed validations, let us take up the form validate active forms. But here is a question. And I think this is a very important question because I've been struggling with a good UI developer and I don't get it. First thing I would suggest that if you're starting anything in Angular, right, I would really suggest, guys, start with a ready-made template. So there are a lot of free templates. I don't know in the class I've talked about it or not, but there is like this Angular UI template. Angular, what is that? Angular UI. So not Angular UI, Angular template. So, these are all paid ones. I would suggest to take one good paid one, definitely. But I just forgot the name of that. It's a yeah, Core UI. Yeah, Core-UI. That's a free template out there. It has almost everything, guys. If you go and if you can see here, just go and download it. You can see the same kind of code, same kind of an SRC, and I'm sure that their style sheets are awesome. And if you look at their UI, that's how the UI looks like. So that's oh no, this one's Prime. Okay. Okay, admin template. Let me take one of them. Okay, let's look at the admin template. I don't know how it looks like. Templates. Okay, Core UI admin template. So, okay, live preview. Live preview. Yeah, default. Let's look at this. This is you can see that's a template actually. That's something which is really great. I would suggest I know that a lot of people are struggling with it. There are some issues with this, with taking ready-made templates, so you can see that they explain you how can a form look like. So you can have a good style sheet out here, all ready-made. How can a validation look like? So if you have validations, how it will look like, right? How the buttons will look like. So I feel that you should start from some template out here, and then must be you can tell your developers to do something. This would be my advice. But if you want to start from scratch, you can, because there are a lot of times where this UI itself does not fix in, right? Some people say, no, we don't want this. We want something very different. Okay. Okay, so guys, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. We'll connect now for AZ204. Thank you. AZ204 on Saturday.